our Savior Jesus Christ according to Matthew.
Glory be to you, Lord.
When Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" And they said, "Some say John the Baptist, but others Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." Then he sternly ordered the disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Messiah. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise be to thee, O Christ.
Just be seated. When I was in second grade, my teacher in Virginia instituted a new rule. There was a bathroom in the classroom, and she put a clipboard next to the bathroom, and everyone had to write down their names each time they went in. And she felt like someone was making a mess, and she wanted to know who it was. Well, I wasn't really keen on, having to register my use of the facilities. So I, in a spark of inspiration, began to write "The Phantom." And the teacher began to announce, "Who is the Phantom?" Someone in class was writing "Phantom. I need you to write your name." And I loved that sort of idea of just for a moment taking on this different persona. That I had become the Phantom in second grade. Because there's something powerful about names. In today's gospel, where Jesus comes into the district of Caesarea Philippi, there are levels and depths to this passage that go so deep, even after hours of study, I still can't see the bottom. And it all has to do with names. And so I want to talk to you today about all of the names that are implicit in the gospel that we have just heard and what they mean about the world, what they mean about Jesus, what they mean about Peter, and what we can learn about those names for ourselves. Now, when I last counted, I got up to 17 or 18 names. That's going to be a lot. But I'm going to lay it out for you, and hopefully in a way that makes it very clear and easy to understand. We begin with 3 names. As Jesus comes to the district of Caesarea Philippi, 4 names. Caesarea Philippi, it depends on if you want to call Caesarea Philippi 1 name or 2. So here's what's happening. It's a city at the base of Mount Hermon. And this is at the northernmost reach of where the Israelites, when they came into the Promised Land, sort of their northernmost boundaries. So it's in some ways like the far corner of Israel, as far as you could get to the edge of Israel into Gentile territory, while still being inside God's land. It's a borderland. And here at the base of Mount Hermon is a city called Caesarea Philippi. Now, there was no Caesar Philip. The Caesarea was named after Caesar Augustus, but Philip was a tetrarch, which was his father Herod, who was king when Jesus was born. When he died, his kingdom was divided among his sons. One of them was named Herod, but one of them was named Philip, and there were other names as well. So he was a tetrarch, which means that the great Herod's territory was divided into 4 parts. And one of those parts, Philip was in charge of. Philip decided to curry favor with Caesar. So he came to a pre-existing city called Paneas, and he renamed it Caesarea Philippi, which is basically saying, hey, Caesar, I just named a city after you. It's called Caesar's City, so named by Philip. He's looking for attention, right? He's looking for attention from the powers of the world. What's fascinating is the city that he renamed Paneas was named after the Greek god Pan. And the Greek god Pan is where the name panic comes from. Pan, there were all these grottos in this cliff face of Mount Hermon, and they were filled with images of Pan and of nymphs. And in the Greek pantheon, Pan was the god of the wildness of the wildness of the hills, the wildness of the valleys, the wildness of nature, where oftentimes shepherds would be keeping their sheep. So if you were keeping your sheep and suddenly at midnight, all of them start to panic and just go flying out, they would say, Pan is upset. And this is the panic. Pan, the god of the wild, has been provoked. And he's put the fear of the wild into these animals, and they're, racing off into the distance, into their own destruction. Pan was this god of wildness, this god of the wide open country and all the dangerous things that could happen. One last thing about this place is down at the bottom there was a grotto, which was traditionally thought of as being where the gate of Hades was. A gate into Hades, which was the Greek place of the dead. So the geography is doing a ton of heavy lifting here. Already in our first sentence, here's what we've got. Jesus has come into the district at the bottom of a great mountain where we have the gates of Hades, we have the power of Pan and the wildness of nature, and we have Caesarea Philippi, which is like the force and power of human will and political force and structure. All of these things happening at once. And in many ways, you could say that Pan and Caesarea Philippi are like 2 parts of a spectrum. On the one, you've got the wildness of nature, and on the other hand, you have human beings with all of their imposed structure and force, Caesar and everything he represents, with the gates of Hades there in between. And so it's in this land, with all of this in mind, these names, the powers, the authorities, the different ways of being in the world, the Pan way, the Caesar way, the Philip way, the Hades way, that Jesus says, who do people say that the Son of Man is? Now, if you remember this a different way, Matthew's the only one that tells us Jesus asks this question first. In Mark and Luke, Jesus just says, who do people say that I am? But Matthew tells us that there was an earlier question. That Jesus asks them, who do people say the Son of Man is? So we need to say something about Son of Man. It's not obvious Jesus is talking about himself. Because Son of Man is a Hebrew concept that comes from Daniel chapter 7, Old Testament prophet. Son of Man comes from the book of Ezekiel. It's mentioned 90 times there. Son of Man also has some contemporary meanings. Here's what Son of Man means probably in brief. And Jesus is asking, who do people think this person is? It has 2 parts. The one part is in Ezekiel, God refers to Ezekiel 90 times as Son of Man. Oh, Son of Man, oh, Son of Man. And essentially every time in Ezekiel, all it means is human. Human being. It's a way that God is referring to Ezekiel as being of earth, being of creation. Son of Man, Son of Man, Son of Man. And Ezekiel replies, So in that aspect, it just means a human being, a regular human being. But in Daniel, the title Son of Man, Daniel chapter 7, the Son of Man is one who comes on the clouds of heaven, and he's presented to the Ancient of Days, the God of all time and space in this mystical vision. And the Ancient of Days gives to the Son of Man glory and power and dominion and authority forever. So it's like this apocalyptic figure. On the one hand, it's a human being. On the other hand, it's this figure who receives kingdom and power and glory forever from God the Father, and who brings that kingdom to human beings that they might have it forever. And everybody was wondering, who's the Son of Man? When will the Son of Man come? The Son of Man is going to judge. When will the Son of Man come and bring that kingdom? So in this place of Caesar, this place of Pan, this place of Hades, Jesus asks an abstract question. Who do people say the Son of Man might be? And they mention a bunch of dead people. Because the idea is, well, the Son of Man will rise again. He will rise from death and receive this eternal kingdom. By this time, John the Baptist has died. So they're like, well, some people say John the Baptist is the Son of Man. Some people say Elijah is the Son of Man. Some people say Jeremiah, this great prophet in the Old Testament, might be the Son of Man. Some people say one of the other prophets is the Son of Man. It's the kind of question you might just have in the car. You know, who do people say the best baseball player is? Or who's the best priest you've ever met in your whole life? You know, that's your questions. Nothing self-referential. And they're all talking about it. And then Jesus says, but who do you say that I am? Now, you have to decide in your mind how he's saying that. He may be saying it in such a way of like, he is saying he's the Son of Man. Who do people say the Son of Man is, and who do you say that I am? I think that's how Peter hears it. Peter hears Jesus saying, but who do you say that I am? And Peter, in this concept of Son of Man, Peter, a normal human being that people would be able to see and hear and living a normal human life, and yet one who comes with the clouds of heaven, who's presented to the Ancient of Days, who receives an everlasting kingdom. Peter is looking at Jesus. He's thinking about Son of Man. He hears Jesus say, who do you say I am? I am is actually God's name too. Who do you say that I am? And Peter looks at him, and suddenly in this burst of inspiration, this sort of like transformative moment where Peter's own mind wasn't there until suddenly it was. You know, in that moment where you suddenly realize something you had never realized before, Peter looks at Jesus and he says, You are the Messiah. You are the Son of the living God. And Jesus commends him. Now listen to those titles. You are the Messiah. You are the Son of the living God. Actually, and this is where you need to sort of hear widely, both of those refer back to what we started with. Messiah is a shepherd image. The Messiah is the one who comes in the line of David. David, who was the good shepherd. David, who was a shepherd from the beginning, who becomes the great shepherd of Israel. The shepherd conquers the wilderness. The shepherd brings order to the wilderness. The shepherd overrules Pan. Messiah is more powerful than Pan. Messiah is the one who keeps the sheep, who cares for the sheep, who in this wild place of the sheep gives them order and structure, one who loves them, one who protects them. The Messiah is more powerful than Pan in this ancient place where they're still standing right in that place. And Son of the living God speaks to Caesar, because Caesar's actually claimed to be the sons of God. They put it on the money. It literally said, when Jesus says, this denarius, whose name and whose face? You remember he says that in the temple. The coin literally says on it, like, Caesar Augustus, son of God. They put it on the money. That was what the Caesars had called themselves from the beginning. This legal fiction that I am the Son of God because I have immense, perhaps, unstoppable power as Caesar. And Peter says, you're the Son of the living God. You're the true Son of God. You are the true Son of the true God. You are the one greater than Caesar, more powerful than Caesar, one who doesn't impose from the top with force and power, but one who brings the truth from the underneath, the undeniable truth that's grounded in God's being. So Peter, in speaking these words to Jesus, has just taken everything we've just heard and put it in a new context. You're greater than this place. You're greater than this one. You are the Son of Man. You are the I Am. You are the Messiah. You are the Son of the living God. And it's all correct. And Jesus is just overwhelmed for Peter, honestly, because it's like this whole ministry, nobody's getting it. Nobody understands. Nobody's figured it out. Nobody's following. Nobody understands the parables. Like, he's starting to wonder probably, like, when is it going to dawn on? When are they going to get a spark? When are they going to get on board? And suddenly it's just happened. And Peter has just found himself in that place. So here's where we come to the last part of the sermon, the last bit of names. And it's a little bit of what we've heard, and they've broken this passage in two. I don't love it, so we're going to hear the other half next week, but you know it by heart. Jesus says to Peter, Simon, son of Jonah. There's another name. Who was Jonah? Jonah was the prophet who had two parts. He was the one God revealed himself to, and he was the one who ran away and didn't want to do it. Jonah was the one who ended up getting thrown into the sea because he wouldn't do it, and then who was rescued from the whale and decided he would go do what God said. Jonah represents like the wishy-washiness of humankind. On the one hand, we receive revelations from God, and on the other hand, we say, I would rather not, and run away. And then after tragedy, we say, oh, okay, I'll do it, and we do it. And then afterwards, we hate the fact we did it and go and sulk on mountains. This is Jonah's story. Simon, son of Jonah. Simon, who by nature is this bifurcated person, you've just shown yourself to be more, in this moment, more prophet than runner. You've shown yourself to be more of the faithful one than the unfaithful one. This is you setting your mind on heaven. Simon, son of Jonah, this in-between state that you are, you've just shifted higher. You've just put yourself in the place of one who's led by inspiration, who's led by God, who receives these things not from flesh and blood, but from God who has revealed it to you. What happens next? Jesus says, he begins to tell the people that the Son of Man has to suffer and die. And what does Peter do? He goes and says, Lord, no, you can't let this happen. And what does Jesus say to Peter then? He says, get behind me. Does that seem a little extra rough to you? Here's why that happens. Because here's Simon's son of Jonah of both parts, who on the one hand has shown himself to have the potential to be totally led by heaven, and now he's gone the other way. And he's gone because you're setting yourself on earthly things, not heavenly things. Now he's totally running away. He's doing the other Jonah part. And so Peter is showing himself to have, like, in the names, these three parts in himself as well. Simon is Jonah-like, maybe we all are. Simon can be Peter-like, purely led by inspiration. And Simon can be Satan-like as an adversary, resisting and forcing and running away. What's wonderful about this is notice that Jesus doesn't treat Peter badly in this time. What would Caesar say to someone who got in front of him? Caesar would say, off with his head. What would Pan say to someone who, had acted this way? He would put complete fear in them, and Jesus would run away, or Peter would run away and not want anything to do with it. None of that happens. Jesus shows, I'm not following Pan's way. I'm not following Caesar's way. Peter, I can handle you as you are, as what? Complete human being. And I'm going to stay with you, and I'm going to love you. I'm not going to turn away from you. I'm not going to push you away. You don't have to be afraid of me. I'm not going to scream at you. I'm not going to leave you behind. I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to be a shepherd to you. I'm going to be the Son of God to you. I understand you can be an adversary. I understand you can be led by heaven. I understand you're mixed, and I embrace you and hold you to myself. That is complete love. And that's where we can find ourselves in this story, is standing in Peter's place, beginning to understand Jesus and all of his greatness, and also recognizing that wherever we are, Jesus in his greatness will look with favor on us. There's only one last thread to complete, and that's the Hades part, the gates of Hades. And we actually see references to this all through the passage. Son of the living God. The Son of the living God surely will be able to have victory over the gates of Hades. The gates of Hades are supposed to keep people out. And Jesus is showing that those gates won't prevail against him. Those gates won't be able to keep him out. He's going to go into Hades, and those gates won't be able to keep him in. He's going to come out of Hades. He's going to destroy Hades by his own suffering and giving of himself. He's going to show that he is what the world never could be. That Jesus is the true God. That Jesus is the I am. That Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of the living God. That Jesus is the Son of Man. Jesus is the suffering servant. Jesus is the one that calls us to him, whether we can understand it or not, and who promises to hold us and save us forever. That is the power